Armstrong's popular Metalworks linear ceilings come in a variety of widths with colored or wood grain visuals for use in flat, curved, interior, or exterior installations. I'm about to show you in-depth installation techniques for this beautiful and versatile Metalworks ceiling. We will first start by laying out and installing Metalworks linear carrier molding with the face of the molding installed at finished ceiling height. If you need help mitering inside and outside corners, be sure to check out our 20-minute ceiling installer video for great tips on miters at corners. Metalworks linear is installed by 12-gauge hanger wires installed on 4-foot centers for interior installations. As with all grid installations, you will want to square your grid to 2 perpendicular dry lines. Your first string will run perpendicular to the main carrier, positioned at the outside edge of a carrier's hook. Your second string will run alongside and parallel to the first main runner's outside row of hooks to form a perfect 90-degree string intersection. If you have ever installed a linear metal ceiling before, you will notice immediately, hey, this linear carrier is different. Well, you're right. Our new linear metal carrier has been factory applied to a drywall grid main runner. With these main runner carriers and 4-foot cross tees, gone are the days of trying to square up parallel running carriers with no reinforcing cross tees. Cutting the carrier is like cutting grid, but with a couple extra cuts around the carrier's hooks. Of course, if you like, you can cut with a metal cutting circular saw or even a handheld bandsaw. Your main beam carrier will rest on the upper portion of the perimeter carrier molding. Simply spread the carrier hooks from the main to grab the upper portion of the molding. A screw into the main will help it grip better, but still allow you to move the main as you square the grid. If pre-bending your wires, bend wires 2 inches above the finished ceiling to line up with the carrier's wire holes. Main carriers are installed on 4-foot centers with 4-foot drywall cross tees installed on 4-foot centers for repeating 4x4 modules. Once fully squared and locked into place, this linear metal grid system is the sturdiest in the industry. In fact, it's one of the only systems that installs in a modular grid format. Productivity is increased further with the ability to stab and click your main beam carriers together. Before advancing further beyond your first 2 main runners and cross tees, make sure your grid is square by measuring diagonally across a 4x4 module in both directions. Metalworks Linear is approved for use in seismic DEF installations with an upper run of 7800 wall angle and Burke 2 clips. Burke 2 clips aid in creating 2 3/4-inch float walls and 2 tight walls for a seismically tested and certified installation. If your ceiling is 3D curved, simply cut your main beam carrier to form to a radius jig template. Reinforce strength back into the main beam with RC2 clips and 4 screws per clip. There will be a separate video produced which addresses curved Metalworks Linear from ceilings to walls. Curved mains are installed on 4-foot centers as well. Your first panel will be a cut panel running parallel to the starting wall. Once fully engaged with the carrier's hook, you will need to install pressure springs so the cut edges are evenly sandwiched down against the channel molding, resulting in a smooth, clean, finished visual from the floor. Pressure springs will be installed at all perimeters. That starter panel that you rip down the length of will need to be permanently locked into place. You'll do that with a cut plank support bracket, which eliminates pop rivets when field cut panels rest along the perimeter. Once engaged, simply screw with 2 screws to lock into place. Here come the field panels. Did you know that Armstrong Metalworks Linear is not a progressive system like many others? This means that you can start installing field panels in the middle of a room and have two crews installing the field in different directions for maximum productivity. Simply engage the panel's flange side first, then press the panel's hook side up to engage the carrier's hook. We are opting to mix varying widths of plank for a more random finish visual. As with any linear plank ceiling system, we recommend staggering panel ends or splices throughout the whole ceiling plane to achieve the most uniform and consistent installed visual. The black Soundtex fleece on the panel's back delivers a 70 NRC. To install an ending panel that has been cut to length, simply overlap its adjoining panel, engage the flange and hook, then slide into final position. This splice and all splices need to be reinforced with a splice plate to ensure a clean, even, level transition from panel end to panel end. Splice plates simply press into place to align panel ends as shown here. Armstrong recently introduced 10 and 12-inch Metalworks planks. To splice these larger plank ends together, temporarily clamp during installation, then screw the end panel upturns together. With Metalworks Linear, you have the option of creating a black contrast up in the panel reveals. This is done with a contrast filler strip. 1.25" wide contrasts filler strips are field applied to planks before installation. Slide the filler hem over the plank flange, then install the plank as usual. Here you can see the difference between reveals with the filler strip and those without. Linear lights are popular. How do I install them in a Metalworks Linear ceiling? Specify a panel that is at least 3 inches wider than your linear fixture. Here, we cut a 4-inch wide nominal linear slot in an 8-inch panel. To finish off the rough edges of our fixture opening, we have pre-cut and mitered our perimeter channel molding that matches our panel's finish as well. On a flat work surface, fit your cut channel molding pieces into place. To keep from visually pop riveting the carrier channel molding into place, simply secure the molding with your pressure springs that you are also using at the perimeters to hold cut edges down and flush. Figure 2 springs at each end, then a spring every couple feet along the long sides. Lighting will need to be independently pennant mounted to flush out with the linear ceiling's panel's face. Now that we have the panel ready, let's get the grid ready for our linear light. First, we screw attach the TechZone yoke to the main runners, which maintains grid alignment and structural rigidity as sections of the main are cut to make way for the linear lighting. Next, we only cut that portion of the main which obstructs our 4-inch light fixture, leaving the necessary hooks which are needed for the light plank installation. Our light plank is then installed just like the other linear planks in this installation. Look how clean and precise this pendant linear LED fixture fits up inside our field-modified linear lighting metal plank. If you need to install access doors, the procedure is similar to that of a linear light panel preparation. Cut your opening, cap off both the opening and the access door with a carrier channel molding, and support with carriers that override the opening a minimum of 12 inches. Installing Metalworks Linear in exterior conditions requires that carriers be installed on 36-inch or 24-inch centers, with wind uplift compression posts per the tested UL 30, 60, or 90 uplift class ratings. Simply attach your 20 gauge 3 5/8 inch CSJ compression posts to the carrier with BAC G90A clips. Follow the post and carrier frequency in our uplift chart, then secure the post to structure. A little planning and preparation needs to happen prior to installing your last linear plank. First, we need to bend the carrier's hooks 90 degrees to install the cut perimeter plank that interfaces the wall, or axiom trim in this case. Next, we bend those hooks back to secure the plank into place, followed by a cut plank support bracket at every carrier location. You will need to splice these cut perimeter planks a little differently. First, fabricate a cut piece of plank like you see here, then overlay and clamp to evenly splice both cut planks together. Next, drill 2 1/8-inch holes on either side of the splice and pop rivet the splice together. These rivets will not be noticeable once the last plank is installed. Wait! Before that last plank is installed, you will need another similar field fabricated splice plate. Since in a closed ceiling, you can't reach up and press into place those standard splice plates, you'll need to pop rivet the splice plate to one panel side, the second to the last panel. Then pre-drill holes into the last panel through the splice plate so pop riveting can happen after the last plank has been installed. There, do you see that splice plate ready for the last plank? Install your last pressure spring, then engage and slide into place the last Metalworks plank. Last, pop rivet through your pre-drilled holes and your ceiling's finished and looking great.